Dan,
Yeah,
super excited for you to join me here today.
glad
So,
to be here.
yeah, what prompted me to do this is a realization that while I spend a lot of time with our leaders on the team and have had the opportunity to get to know our leaders on the team, um, and we're growing so rapidly and expanding into different markets. The interesting thing about real estate is that sometimes it can feel like a solo sport, right? Sometimes it can feel like it's wrestling, not football, right? So you sometimes take for granted, especially when you're in the leader role, that everybody knows everything about everybody. But the truth is that many of the people on our team, and especially those people that are joining our team, um, won't necessarily get the pleasure to get to know you as well as I have. And I think you have an amazing story. And I think you have a lot to share. And I wanted to create an environment and a platform where the people on our team can get to know each other better. And so
Awesome.
what better way to do that than for us to spend a little bit of time just kind of digging into your journey, your history, your story. And I want to learn about it. And I want you to share, so that as we grow and as people get to know, who we are as an organization, and new agents come to the team or people that we serve in our community can find out a little bit more about the Dan that I know and love. So this is our agent interview series. So, let's just start with the basics. Um, you are currently in the Stamford market. That's where you live, expecting your first child, married. You've got an amazing, amazing business, both in real estate and in property management, a wealth of knowledge around investing, a wealth of knowledge around helping buyers and sellers. But that must have started somewhere, right? You weren't born with all that knowledge, right? You've got 37, 38 years of
39.
experience,
Oh, yeah.
39 years of experience here at living this wild thing called life. So tell me a little bit about, like, your background. Like, where'd you grow up? Where'd you start? How did you wind up in this glorious business called real estate?
Yeah, I won't try to make it too long here. I've worn a lot of hats throughout my career and my life here, but I grew up in Western Mass. My mom was a school teacher. My dad built houses with his childhood friend. So kind of grew up around all of that. In Western Mass, not much going on out there. Very rural, small town. And fortunate enough to spend a lot of the summers out in Gloucester, Massachusetts, where I kind of fell in love with the ocean, fell in love with entrepreneurship as well. Because my mom was a school teacher, so she brought us out there while she was not teaching, which is just an incredible
Oh,
experience.
summers in Gloucester,
Gloucester, yeah,
Gloucester, and
yeah,
isn't that perfect storm?
yeah, yeah.
All
So
right.
yeah, I was on the beach. I had a kayak, so I started just bringing lobster traps out. I got a student permit, started my own little lobster business. Ended up, I'll fast forward a bunch. Went to school for aquaculture and aquarium sciences up in University of New England in Maine. Um, During that time, I was also a commercial fisherman, so a lot of stuff around business and building and growth. So I had my own lobster business, was on a lobster boat, also a gill netting boat. Did that throughout college, a little after college, and then graduated. Got my first real job back in Western Mass, growing barramundi, which is an Australian flaky white fish. So we grew them from little tiny fish to saleable fish that we
No,
sold.
you sort of blew right through this, but like your degree was in aquarium sciences, is that
Yeah,
right?
aquaculture and aquarium sciences. So
Aquaculture and aquarium science. Okay, this is the first I've ever met an aquaculture and aquarium science expert. So college for you, I mean, your business experience was that's a science. I mean, I knew science kids. Science kids were not typically focused on P&Ls and, activity driven outcomes. Like science kids were in labs for the most part. I'm really interested in, like, at what point did you recognize that, like, I love this lobster boat thing that I'm doing that's like creating outcomes? Like, where did that like switch flip for you?
So I think I always had it. I can even go back further. Western Mass, I had my own little maple syrup business as well. So back
Okay.
when I was, I don't even know how old, 15, I couldn't drive, was tapping the trees all around my house. I don't even know how many gallons I used to make, but had my own evaporator, was, it was a full-time gig. I don't know how
Hey,
my
by the way, it must be mentioned that like there are no businesses that are more New England than maple syrup and lobster. Like legit, dude. Like you it's not like you were landscaping or like building decks or something. Like you picked the most New England things possible. You had a maple syrup business and a lobster business.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get more in New England. I never thought.
I mean, maybe you were making some cheese too. Like that would be the only other thing would be being like a what do they call them? A cheesemonger? Yeah, being a cheesemonger.
Yeah.
Okay.
So always kind of had that drive of growing something, selling it, and making money. Definitely been financially motivated, investing, all of that kind of stuff throughout. It's just kind of a theme throughout my childhood and adult life. So, Western Mass, growing fish. Got my first job in Connecticut, or second job down in Connecticut at House of Fins, which is a upscale aquarium service and sales company. Did that for a while. Realized that as much as I love that business, it wasn't scratching that itch of sales and building something. So joined up with another company, started selling fish food nationally that we're importing from overseas. And that was on the road probably half the year. Just a road warrior, having a great time. I was a young guy doing it, just driving all over the place, which was awesome.
Were you selling to like commercial fish hatcheries or like I think of aquarium and I think of like the aquarium that I had as a high school kid in my room, but I feel like you must be talking about a different level.
No, we sold, flake fish food for guppies up to, I believe Georgia Aquarium was one of our clients as well. So it went from retail to wholesale for big aquariums too. It was a really cool experience. A lot of stuff happened with that company. It wasn't managed well from one guy that kind of tanked it, unfortunately. So, but during that time, I got my first house in Stamford, Connecticut. My mom saw it when she saw it for the first time. She cried. It was absolutely disgusting. It was condemnable. It was pretty bad, but it really, I realized that I could have roommates that paid for my mortgage, and it just was such a financially good move for me. Really, that's what kicked it off of like, oh, passive income is kind of cool. This is before I had my license too. Started buying other houses while I was working, other jobs. I got into tax lien foreclosures in Brooklyn for a while.
All right, hang on, pause for a second. Yeah. Bought your first house that you moved into. This is your mom's crying on the front steps. Please, little Danny, don't do it. It's gonna swallow. How old are you at this point?
I was probably 23, 24.
Okay, so you're young and you've got a full-time career, a traveling job, right? And you buy a house and you get the itch. You're like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Just for those people that, because there's people that'll listen to this that'll wonder like, oh yeah, Dan had this big time aquarium job. How much were you making at that job?
Maybe 40,000 a year.
Okay. So your first house, did you buy it with FHA? Like, did you, small down payment?
So I got lucky. Yeah. Small down payment. I think it was around 20,000 with closing costs all included.
Okay.
So I got lucky buying Apple stock when it was way back in the day, just because I liked Apple. And so that was my down payment. So I was very fortunate. I put $200 in and had a down payment.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. I love that story.
Unbelievable. But I probably could put less down. And that's what actually, it's a story I tell a lot with my clients of like, I'm here to answer your questions, because I showed up at closing. I remember I was in Bridgeport, Connecticut, walking through Bridgeport with a check in my hand for my entire net worth and being like, this is terrifying. I have so much money on me. And where's this all going? Because no one explained to me escrow. No one explained to me closing costs. No one explained any of that. And the agent I had at the time, this was before I was licensed, well before I was licensed, he wasn't approachable for any of that. It was terrible. It was a really bad experience. So
yeah. So you get this first house and you're bit by the bug. You're like, I should do more of this.
Yep.
Um, what did that look like?
Yeah, so it's crazy to think about. I actually drive by my first rental that I had. It was $1,400, and I was like, it's 2 bedroom in Stamford, Connecticut. And I thought that was so much money.
Of course. Yeah.
So I bought my house, and my mortgage was like 900, and I had 2 roommates that were paying basically my mortgage plus everything else. And I was like, this is awesome. And then my house appreciated quite a bit because I did so much work to it over the next like year or so. Cashed out, refinanced, got a big chunk of money, and then this is where my net worth really took off, and I really was like, I saw the light. I bought my first house. It was a foreclosure in Bridgeport, for second house, I should say, first investment, for $45,000. This was during the time I was working down in Long Island, so I would get up at like 5 in the morning, drive to Long Island, get back to Stamford at like 7, go up to Bridgeport, work till midnight, and then rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Financially huge, like I was over leveraged. This was like a massive risk, but I loved what I was doing, and I knew there was value in it.
Yeah.
And my parents would laugh at me. They're like, oh, you're buying a house for 45,000, like how could you not go, like of course
Yeah.
it's going to go well.
Yeah. Right.
It's ridiculous. So that house is probably worth around 300 now,
Yeah.
which is awesome. So I started seeing that and kept having bad experience with agents.
Yeah.
And I had talked to my mom one time. This is probably a decade before I got my license. Of like, I think I want to get into real estate, and she's just, doing the protective mom. Oh, that's 100% commission job, isn't it? Like we wake up every day unemployed. And fortunately, I got my license later, but I could have started, a decade earlier if I had really jumped in. But also had to learn a lot of everything. So bad experience, got my license.
You're not loving the experience working with agents. Why didn't you love it? What was what did you feel like they weren't doing that you thought they should do?
So one thing really sticks out, and it's an agent that's still active and very active on social media and all of that. And I went to closing, and there was an extra charge for like 500 or $1,000. I was like, "What is this?" She's like, "Oh, it's my minimum commission." I'm like, "You never told me about a minimum commission. Like, why am I paying you more?" And this was back before the lawsuit, where it was all provided by the seller. I was just kind of taken aside by that and surprised.
So that you had a buyer's agent that you were buying a property at $45,000. So the commission wasn't great, but they just basically jacked the price up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had to pay out of pocket, and none of it was disclosed.
Yeah.
Like
Super
that's
terrible.
yeah. And at that time, I was doing all my own due diligence. I was staying up till midnight, just really diving into properties. And they were truly just a door opener, a key holder. And they weren't an advocate for me. I would ask, like, what do you think about rental? Or what do you think about this? And they would have no idea. So they weren't students of the game. Like
Yeah.
they really tied into being good agents.
Yeah, they were transactional. They weren't trying to elevate how they did the business. They were just basically looking for the next deal.
Yeah, I don't even know if she went in the property with me. Like,
Yeah.
and this was a foreclosed house that didn't have heat or running water. And like, I go in those properties now and I get excited. I'm like, hey guys, you could do this, this, and this. Like,
Yeah.
how cool would it be if you did whatever? So that's what I get excited about now.
Yeah. So you get into this situation, you've got an agent, you feel like, okay, I'm not loving this. And you're still working full time, right?
Yeah.
And at the point that you decided to get your license, how many properties had you purchased at that point?
I believe it was 3 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so not a ton of them, and I still actually own
but,
still.
yeah, but you had made the move into, like, you were officially, like, I look at it like there's like real estate, there's people that buy real estate to live in. Then there's amateur investors that decide, like, maybe I'll pick up one property, and do like an Airbnb, which back then, of course, that wasn't really a thing, but like maybe I'll have a rental property, right? Which is like the amateur investor. But like you get to 3 or 4 properties, like this is a thing for you. Like you're doing more than 99% of people out there. And so then you decide, I'll get my license. Now I'm going to make a leap. I don't know this to be true, but I'm going to guess that you did it primarily to just self-represent.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no, at that point in time, if I had said, Dan, are you going to be a realtor? You probably would have said no.
Yeah, that was an interesting time in my life, personally, business wise, career wise, where I had my license for about 6 months. Life stuff was happening. I actually was selling beer at the time, which was not a good fit for me. Yeah, so I was going to bars and doing tastings till 1 in the morning, then having be. It was just not a good fit. So,
Yeah. Or
and then
maybe
I
too good of a fit. Yeah, right.
yeah, one of my buddies was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying a house, and sure, I'll go show you this 400, and I think it's 475 in Norwalk. Yeah, sure, I'll go show it to you and help you with the transaction." And that was actually my first sale. It was my first third party sale that I didn't actually own or buy myself. Uh,
Awesome.
and that was within probably 6 months of getting my license, and then I went kind of full time right after that.
Well, once you did that, you realize, okay, there might be some. Again, you're a quick study. You bought a house. You go, I like this. I'm going to do it. You get your license. You help somebody. You go, oh yeah, I think I see this. I think I'm going to do it. Yeah, awesome. So that first year in real estate, what's that like for you?
Uh, So life stuff was just I was running away from a lot of things and just really digging in. And it's interesting how real estate you're faced with your biggest fears and pitfalls in real estate and in any sales, I think.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I was dealing with all of that and coming into Keller Williams where you're hyper focused on a lot of that growth. So I went to Europe 3 times that year. Like I was digging myself into a massive debt hole.
Okay.
But I think my first year I did 20 something transactions. Um, I think around 50,000 GCI. So it was a lot of like rentals and small time stuff. I was doing stuff that people didn't want to do.
Yep.
Most of the agents in my Stamford office wouldn't even go to Bridgeport. And I was like, yeah, I'll take a ride to sell a $100,000 house and make a couple grand.
Give me a time frame on this. What year is this when this is happening?
This was 2016, 2015.
Okay. Awesome. Yep.
Yeah. Because I'm coming up on 10 years.
Yep.
So around then, the next year it was kind of like the hockey stick. It was flat, and then I took off. Like 3 years into it, things started clicking for me.
Okay. And what does that mean? Like, what did that mean? It started clicking. You felt like you had like a rhythm behind it.
Yeah, rhythm and the money behind it.
Mhm.
I kind of figured out. I was paying for Zillow leads for a while, and I started looking at it as a business. I didn't have a CRM my first like 2 years, and it was just chaos of what I was doing. Buying Zillow leads, in one of the years, I sat back and was like, "Wow, I paid this much for Zillow," because I had a spreadsheet for everything. I was super.
I remember when we first met, you liked to show me your spreadsheets.
Oh yeah, I love that spreadsheet. I need to do it again. That was so motivating. It had when I cap, it had when I,
Yep.
it was awesome. But where was it going? Oh, so things start. I look back in Zillow leads. I had 2 transactions, and they were nightmares of clients. And I looked at all of the showings I did for Zillow, and the money spent. I'm like, this is not worth it. There's got to be an easier way. And that was also when I linked up with Keller Williams Young Professionals and met about 20 raving fans at one event at Mega Camp. And the agent referral game just blew up for me. I was the guy for Connecticut
Yep.
for a long time within Keller Williams.
Yeah, especially in that group. And I actually feel like that's how I met you, was not through KWYP, but through friends of KWYP, right?
Yeah.
Is that we got linked up through that. So how did that become a business model for you? Because, as long as I've known you, you've always put a lot of intention around making sure that real estate agents know who you are and you show up at places, you do stuff. So like, when did it click for you that like, oh, this is a business model?
When business just started flowing in, like we
Mhm.
do, and I know we've talked about this too. It's frustrating within my business because there's not something I can just turn on. I can't make more, or I don't make more cold calls or expired calls. It's the relationship game of the last decade of building these really good relationships, and some of really good friends. I've been to my weddings, I've been to theirs, like all of these kind of things come from real estate and making those connections. And so now people are referring me business. And it just started like, oh yeah, of course I'll go sell that house. Of course, like I'll do this for you. And then, I know we're a big events team, and this is how you've grown your business. My lacrosse team, going to Prague, playing with the Brooklyn team. Like, I've gotten so many referrals just from those guys. I just closed 1.9 million from a friend's dad. Like, that was so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always said you can't manifest a buyer out of thin air. You can't manifest a seller out of thin air. You can't create what we do, right? Like, you might, if you were, when you were in aquarium sales, this is a crazy example, but like, you might have been able to convince somebody they should get an aquarium, right? Like, you might have been able to, if you could get somebody to come into the store and show them stuff, somebody might have like woke up that morning and said, I'm not getting an aquarium. And by the end of the day, been like, oh my God, I own a bunch of fish, right?
Yep.
You could, like, that's a thing you can create, but you can't do that in real estate. You cannot take somebody who does not have a need, desire, or interest and turn them into a buyer or a seller. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So the game is go find the people that have the need or desire or interest. And so the broader you build your network, the more types of those opportunities you create, and the more people that know you, the more of them flow your way. So you built this business model around agent referrals, and from that, you start having some success, and somebody got in your ear and said, Dan, you should start a team.
Yeah. I mean, that's the Keller Williams way, it's hire an assistant, hire agents. So I was fortunate to have some good support and a really good mentor for, that time of my life. I didn't know what I was doing. I was reading The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I was trying to, you know, what's frustrating with a lot of it is there's nothing tactical. This is like how you set up your business. This is how you formulate the team within Keller, all of that stuff. This is what you should pay. Like, I was just trying to get good talent, and I did have some really good people for the time being, but I'm a people pleaser, which has been a while for me to recognize. And so I was growing the team, trying to please the agents on my team and trying to please everyone else where, oh, we need a dialer. Oh, we need more leads. Oh, we need this. And I was working up to between $10,000 and $15,000 a month in carrying costs for the team. Which I looked back at the transactions I was giving the agents, or the transactions the agents closed. I was giving them about 80% of the transactions. So
Right.
was like, and there were listings, like I could go on a listing appointment and be done and not have, I didn't need a team for that. I needed a team for buyers.
Your experience around team building is so similar to so many other agents who have success in the business, in the transactional relationship building part of the business, and then jump in and put on the CEO business owner hat and realize that all the things that made you successful at building a real estate transaction business are things that will actually compromise your ability to build a successful real estate team. Because being a people pleaser, you can't be. You have to be results oriented, and results have to come first, or the organization will fail. Trying to adapt to people's needs, especially when it's agents that are on your team, that will totally compromise your ability to have a successful business, because you'll be constantly moving the needle to help them get what they want, as opposed to what's good for the organization.
Yeah, and that's actually my biggest realization with the property management side of things was I'm a people pleaser, so I couldn't be the one facing the tenants. They would come to me with issues, and I would get emotionally attached to the situation. Where I finally put someone that's not a people pleaser in that role, and she's fantastic at it, while I can focus on growing the business. So if I started my real estate team with partnering with someone that was the operations, wasn't a people pleaser, was kind of, this is what it is, and I was more of the the salesperson for the team, we would have gone much further, and
Right.
attracted much better people.
Yeah, and finding that one person to help you is also a challenge, especially when you're just getting started, right? Because as we've heard before, as the people pleaser, you're likely to hire somebody and do the exact same thing for that person, right?
Yeah.
So getting to the point where you can have the appropriate number two is also a challenge. Talk to me about your property management business, because you mentioned it, but I know that is a huge part of your business and something that you are wildly successful at. We talked about early in your career, you went from, buying your first home to, before you got in the real estate business, 3 or 4 properties. How many doors are you managing now? And what does your property management business look like?
So it grew out of necessity. It was actually a Zillow lead for a property that I had listed in Stamford for a six family for 1 point something or other. Wish I bought that. And I was very upfront with him. I'm like, you want to get into real estate? It was first time investor, finance guy. Um, didn't know any of the back end stuff, management, building, anything like that. And I was upfront with him of like, I think I can get you a better return. Let's go find some properties in Bridgeport. So I didn't have a property management company at that time. I was managing my own properties. I think I had 6 or 7 doors at that time. We bought a 3 family, 6 family, 6 family, 21 unit. And I learned the hard way of getting into property management that way. Formulated a company. We were growing. We were doing okay. And then I got really serious about it about a year and a half ago. And now we have a really solid foundation, good operations. We have a phenomenal 2 ladies that work with me. One's on the tasks and maintenance requests. One does the financing, and she's kind of taking over the company while I'm stepped back and really put into myself into a sales position of finding new clients and doing what I do best. Obviously, putting out fires, I can go fix anything, I can do it all, but my time spent is better spent building the company. So
Yep.
we're only at around, I think, 70 or 80 doors right now.
Stop. You said only 70 or 80 doors. For
Yeah.
the vast majority of people here that are going to listen to this, having 70 or 80 apartments is a monumental achievement. So it's not an only. That's a pretty impressive. And then you have you have some ownership stake in some of those.
Yep.
Some of those you're doing third-party property management. What does that look like? How do you structure a third-party property management deal?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. So it's not, I shouldn't say easy. It's pretty simple of what we provide and what the landlords get. So we provide basically hands off. You don't even have to think about the property ever again. On the 21st or between 21st and 23rd, you'll get money deposited in your account unless there's a big issue. So we take all the maintenance requests, we collect rent, we place tenants, evictions. We'll do renovations if needed. We'll take care of everything. We've had clients overseas. We have clients all throughout the country that they might see the property every couple years, but they really trust us to get everything done right. We're doing yearly inspections. We've continuously upgraded our vendors, where a lot of vendors out there, they'll just do the job, but they won't do it right. I'm a very big advocate for doing it the first way is the right way to do things, even if it costs a little bit more.
Well, from a time and efficiency standpoint, when you're running a business, having to do something again is the most expensive thing.
Yeah. And the tenants are unhappy. The landlord's unhappy. We're unhappy because we have to deal with it again. So it's not a win for anyone.
I can, even in the real estate transaction business, like people will ask for a referral to, let's just say, a painter. And there was a time in my career where I always tried to refer whoever I thought was going to be the cheapest, because that's what I thought people wanted. And then what I realized was referring the cheapest person that doesn't show up or communicates terrible is the worst possible thing, because then the client immediately comes back to you with the problem of your painter sucks. And now the painter sucking becomes my problem, which is not a thing. I don't get paid for referring the painter. So there's no value or business upside for me to refer somebody that's not going to just be awesome at the job. And so the referral now is always, this is the best painter that I've found that will do what he says, when he says, on time, for the price he quotes. He's not the cheapest, but he is the one that I would hire if I were in your situation.
Yeah, it devalues your business too.
Totally.
If you're referring 4 businesses, that's how you value your business.
Right.
So we've gone through a lot of handy men, handy women, whoever, vendors, and we found some that are just really good communicating, really good at work, want to work, they don't disappear for weeks. And we're giving them a lot of business too. So it's basically a full-time job for some of these people. So it's been also great to have that side of the business, have those really good vendors. Like just today, I referred one of our cleaners to one of my up and coming listings that they need. So it's nice to have them in my back pocket for the real estate side of things.
Yeah.
because I already have those relationships. I've already vetted
Yeah, I
all.
mean, obviously that the two businesses really serve each other at a pretty high level.
Yeah.
What's next for you? What are you working on? What's the big thing that's on your mind? What are you looking to grow?
I mean, my wife is growing a baby, so
That's next. So becoming a dad. Yeah, that's
yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, becoming a dad. I really do love the real estate investment and wealth growing side of things. So I would love to continue buying, or I'm going to continue buying. Just buying right, buying small. I'm not looking to get massive debt. Looking to get just, I don't need much, but to see how I've grown my wealth from buying condos, single families, small multifamilies. That's my retirement plan. My real estate sales side is my lifestyle.
That's your
And then,
job.
my job.
That's your job. Yeah. You have job income, and then you have wealth building income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the property management company is making sure that my wealth is being taken care of correctly. While that's a scalable business and I can sell it eventually as well.
One of the things that I learn about successful people in the business like yourself is that there's some passion behind it, right? There's something that you wake up, because the job can be, the job part, the real estate sales part can be very difficult, right? You can constantly be encountering, pitfalls, challenges, unhappy customers, unhappy vendors, unhappy Cobra. Like there's a lot of sort of navigating people's emotional ups and downs. But the only way that people like us keep coming back is that there's something that we love about it. There's something that's like, yeah, but this thing is good enough for me to keep coming. What is that for you?
I mean, it's always chasing the next thing. And like the next, I have a couple, $1 to $2 million people I'm working with right now that would turn into a buy sell. Love that. And then what am I going to do with that chunk of money? Is it going to bring us all to the Czech Republic again? Is it going to bring me buying a beach house for a family? Like I bought the Vermont house, the ski house, that I'm already seeing my family more. So like that, that's the next big thing really, is financial stability and putting that money to work for what we want our core values to be with our family.
Yeah,
Or our core values of, you can't have family time without money a lot of the time. Like my parents live in Vermont or Massachusetts. Kelsey's live in New Hampshire. We have family all over the place. If we don't have a place to gather or a reason to gather, we're probably not going to. And that's what fuels me going out, making that extra call, trying to provide wealth for the family so we can.
That is exactly what I'm talking about, is that there is a purpose, there is a vision, there's something behind you, driving you to wake up and go through this thing that we call real estate sales. Because the business in and of itself in an average day can be very unrewarding, right? It's the bigger picture that allows people like us to just continue to get after it. So I love that.
I do want to just take a pause there for a second too. That mentality has shifted a lot in the last decade. And even in the last couple of years when we've been into business together, it used to be like proving people wrong that I could do this, that I'm not, a loser, not just staying status quo in life. And that's, once I've taken a look back and like, I kind of done a lot of things. What's next? What's going to drive me next? And I think it's really seeing the fruits of my labor come together, of all of those late nights, early mornings, working on the properties, to be able to sell one property in Bridgeport, buy a cabin in Vermont, see my family up there. My brother's been using it. I just offered it to someone on our team to go use for a weekend. Like that's so cool for me. So if I can continue to do that on a bigger scale, really would love to.
Well, there's really nothing stopping it, right? Like that's the thing when people ask me like what drove me to the business, it was the unlimited upside and the freedom potential. I looked at it and said, after 10 years in a corporate career, I was so tired of being told where to go and what to do by people who had no vested interest in me actually living the life that I wanted. And so it was just that just ground me down to a nub. And so I wasn't showing up as my best self in a corporate environment because it felt like I was always going to be held to someone else's standard. And I wanted bigger things for my life. So the unlimited upside was massively appealing to me. And this idea that even if it meant I had to work 100 hours a week, it was still my choice. Like I was so drawn to this idea that I'm willing to work harder than everybody as long as I'm deciding to do it. But the minute somebody else tells me you need to work harder than everybody else, I'm like, yeah, I'm out. I'm not doing it. Like it's a very, I find that to be another common theme among agents.
100%. And I want to see the fruits of my labor,
Mhm.
which I think it is very much right in your face with real estate too.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
outcomes are mine. Like you
Yeah.
win, you win. Yeah. Now
I
that
couldn't.
said, I know you to be a team player and a collaborator, right? Which is another thing that like I started this call by talking a little bit about how some days this business feels like, you're more of a wrestler or a runner than on a team. And yet you show up on the team as a contributor, as a leader, as somebody that really values the community experience. Talk to me a little bit about that. Where do you find or how do you find value in that? Because people often wonder, oh, well, you can do this on your own or you can do this with people. I personally would never do it on my own, not in a million years. And I know that because sure, I could, but I would never feel fulfilled around it. Tell me a little bit about that for you.
Yeah, I've done it alone. I've done it just leading myself. Now being part of the team, so I've seen all the iterations of it. I've had really good success. I've had really good not success that I've learned from. I've had it all. And it's I think the saying "it's lonely on top" is really a true story where we're in sales, we're all competing for the same stuff, we're all swimming in the same pool, we're going or fishing in the same pond, whatever you want to say. And so it feels like you can't have genuine conversations about your successes when you're a solo person, especially if you're in the same market. You going and if someone came up to me like, "Oh, I just sold $2 million of down the street from you, like why didn't I get that listing?" But when you're part of a community and part of a team, and especially our team that celebrates the win, celebrates on our morning calls who's got something under contract, who just signed a buyer, all of those great milestones. It just makes it a lot more fun to be around, because you can even just from moving to from my old market center to where we are. My sales last year would be one of the biggest teams in that market center. So it was a small pond, even though it felt really big.
Yeah.
And so not being around other people running faster, jumping higher, doing bigger things, you get complacent with like, oh yeah, I did, 10 million. I'm good. Like I'm
I'll
top.
never forget. I'll never forget like being the number one realtor in our market center in 2011 for selling like 12 million in the year and getting the plaques and getting the awards and the high fives and the attaboys and literally feeling like I am a complete and utter failure. I can't pay my bills and wonder. And like, so there was this like very fraudulent experience because at the time it was a small pond. And in that small pond, I was the best. But man, I was like the, king of the guppies to say, like it was, we were not sharks. We were, we were still struggling. And it was such a strange experience, which is partly why the team that we've built, that you're helping me build is about putting winners in the winning locker room and raising the bar and holding people to higher standards of what they're actually capable of, which is fun to be around.
It's a lot of that mob mentality too. Like, I think there's some negative connotations to that, but like, if you're all running towards the same thing, you're going to go further.
Yes.
Where, like, because you're not looking over your shoulder. If you see someone next to you, you're just going to keep doing it. Like, you have that mentality of, yeah, we can do this. Of course. Why don't we sell 400 units? Like in my old market center, if someone sold 50 units, that was like a big year.
Yeah.
400 that we're doing, like that's not even fathomable.
Right. Right.
And now you're looking around and we're like, oh, why aren't we selling 1,000?
Yeah, why aren't we selling 1,000? I agree. Yeah, why aren't we? So, all right, Dan, go take me back. We're gonna play a little game here. If you could give yourself a piece of advice 1 year ago today, what would it be?
1 year ago, I mean,
Just 1 year. 1 year ago, what would you tell yourself a year ago?
a year ago today was 2 weeks out from my wedding, so it was a wild ride.
Yeah.
1 year ago today, I mean, I don't really have if we went back more than a year, I would
Well,
definitely.
we're gonna do
Yeah,
that.
I figure this is where
I'm
we're going.
saying 1 year ago, what would you tell yourself?
Oh man, congrats. I mean, just
Cool.
you
Awesome.
know, I was coming off of a phenomenal year last year. I think the only thing that I would say is um, get leverage, because that was a point in my life where I was constantly in fight or flight and not enjoying the time that I had, and I didn't really experience time off, true time off, till I was on my honeymoon and we didn't have service and I didn't care and my anxiety was gone around it. It was like, yeah, I'm on my honeymoon. F off if I miss a call.
Yeah.
Client. Like
Right.
this
Yeah.
is something I'm never going to do again. So I think that's it, of leverage, and if things fall apart, they weren't meant to be.
Yeah. Great piece of advice. All right. So 5 years ago. So now
5
we're
years,
at 2020.
yeah, 5 years. I mean, um, don't worry about COVID too much when it hits.
Don't worry too much. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
enjoy the time off when we couldn't sell houses, but I would say get really serious about who I'm letting into my life or
Mm,
into my business, um, and look at the bottom line, and not like, that was a time in my life where I was always looking at the next thing of like, oh, but I'm going to close this and that will pay this, and then I can do this and then I can do this, and I was stacking it up on future business versus current. And I should have been looking at current cash flows and not saying, oh, well, it's an investment because I'm going to make more
got
when I
it.
have this.
So business intelligence 5 years ago. Hey, get a little smarter about the business. All right.
Yeah.
On the day you started in real estate, you got a time machine. You get to go back. It's the day you get your license. What piece of advice do you give yourself?
Um, so I was approached about 3 months into my real estate career of, do you want to go over to Australia and play lacrosse for a year? And my advice would be, go do that.
Hell
Got it.
yes.
Just because that would have been a life experience that I could never do.
You might
And
be selling real estate in Australia. Who
yeah,
knows?
and
Yeah.
money will always come. And at that point, I was very close to it, but I was starting to get momentum in my business, and I didn't want to take my foot off the gas. But definitely go do that. And then just my first year, the mantra was keeping the faith that this is going to work out, and really get your head right. I think is the big thing of like, get into therapy, get into self-help books, and read
Coaching,
all the
personal
stuff that
development, and yeah, all of that.
yeah, I hate the word self-help books, but like personal development is really what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's what we call it. It's still self-help, but yes, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Dan, this has been amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. This is part 1 of like 40. We're going to do this frequently, this agent interview series with you. And I love having you as a guest. And I'm excited for us to continue to grow together and build big businesses and expand into all the states that we touch and do all these cool things together. So thanks for taking the time and for sharing with everybody who's listening. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.